Good morning. There's the little tugboat. We're returning. There's the bridge out there. Very pretty. Good morning. It's Sue from Just Two Tourists. Solo, but not for long. I'm returning home today. We are getting off the ship. We've had a great time here on the Enchanted Princess and the Norwegian Aqua before this. And we're all packed. We're heading back to New York City. We're almost there. And we've had a great time. So, sailing in. I'll share with you some of our little adventures on the way home. But till then, it's time to get our stuff together and go on down to Disembark. And there's the Statue of Liberty. I thought they said it was going to be on the port side. We're on starboard, but we're turning around, so. Here's the Statue of Liberty, New Jersey, and Manhattan. We got it all. Yep. And here's the little tugboat just pushing us. Yeah, again and again and again. It's never enough. It's great. Yep. Okay. Goodbye. We've had a great time. I mean, hello. We're coming back. Just can't get enough of the Statue of Liberty. And here's Manhattan. They're pushing us in. There's the bridge out there. Okay, pro tip. When you're sailing out of Brooklyn, make sure you get the starboard side. They said last night that the Statue of Liberty would be on the port side, but here she is. And there's everything. I mean, this is just gorgeous. I mean, how can you get more iconic than the Statue of Liberty, Manhattan, the bridges? It's so beautiful. We've been really lucky. We had a little rain, but now we've seen it all twice. So this has been a wonderful trip. Now I have to come back with the others so we can do just 2 tours. So nice. What a great view. It's disembarkation day, and the lines and the elevators and the people and the luggage. Here's my tip. Princess, we walked right on. Disembarking is not as pleasant, but I would go straight down and go to the casino because there's lots of comfy chairs here. And this is the closest we got to gambling this trip. So if you want a nice little place to wait for your line, come to the casino. Where's my Bloody Mary? And there, we're on the bus. And there is the Enchanted Princess. We're on the bus, and there's the Enchanted Princess. It's all hurry up and wait from now on. Getting off was a little bit longer than getting off. Took a little bit longer than getting on. I guess when you're excited, that's how it works better that way. But we decided to take the Princess bus to LaGuardia. So we're getting on. Tip. As soon as you get your bags, just get a porter. They scoot you through everything. So don't mess around or wait. Just do it right away. That way you can get through. But just everyone got to put on their patient pants. That's patience pants. There comes more people coming off. And soon the new people will be getting on. I gotta put on my patience pants. Goes. Vacation's over. I will say, coming out. Oh, and there's the Statue of Liberty again. My tip is going out of Brooklyn, get a starboard room. We had great views going out and coming back. Now we get a little tour going to LaGuardia. We'll see if we see anything interesting, like the naked cowboy. Hi again. Every time we turn the corner, we'll probably see it. Hi, it's Sue from Just Two Tourists, wrapping up my solo edition tour with a little review of the Enchanted Princess. So we went on the Enchanted Princess for a 7-night Canada, New England cruise in September. And we ended up having really beautiful weather, so, which was good. but it didn't feel very fallish. So just know, just like, we're from Ohio, temperatures there can change. So even if it's like fall, I'm sure that their temperatures can range from cooler to warmer, just depending on the year. So, and also the we didn't see many fall leaves. We were kind of hoping for some fall leaves. I think we saw one tree with fall. So if you're planning and you want to see that the fall foliage, then you may want to do more into October. It's always, you never know if it's because actually I'm from Ohio, and when we were there, that when we left, our leaves were turning. So that's that. We still had beautiful scenery and, of course, beautiful sailing weather. Also, sailing in September, you if you're planning, you have to remember that is hurricane season. And I'm telling you, we lucked out getting right in the sweet spot because we were doing our back to back with Bermuda cruise on the Norwegian Aqua. So at that time, there were a lot of hurricanes that were going towards Bermuda, and they were rerouting a lot of those Bermuda sailings to New England. So we were like really worried, but we got lucky that that didn't happen, else we would have had a double New England cruise. So we did enjoy the Bermuda and then get to do the New England. Overall, this was my first time on Princess, and my friends they prefer, that's their go-to cruise line is Princess. And I think that they like it because one, once you kind of like, I think anyone, once you kind of start cruising with someone, you build kind of a loyalty and there's like a comfort level. And also, Princess has a lot of ships and they go to a lot of different places and they have a lot of longer itineraries that really kind of that's what my friends are looking for longer itineraries, different places to go. And Princess is probably good for that. What I think Princess is good for is for older, seasoned cruisers who are looking for either to one, just relax, or two, to have those port intensive cruises to unique places. So that's kind of what this was. It was port intensive. We only had one sea day. So it was more, we were going for the ports rather than the ship. And I think that that's kind of what this Princess ship is about. I'm used to, if you look behind me, you got my Disney lounge flies here in my office. I've been mostly a Disney cruiser, and a lot of times the Disney ships are the destination. Or if you go on royal ships, a lot of times those ships can be a destination. I feel the princess ships are your vessel to get to great destinations. So I think that that's the difference is when you're looking for that. Also, you're not looking for princess for great nightlife or great entertainment. I found that of the cruise lines that I've been on, it was the most lacking in entertainment. I think that they're trying with their shows to update them, but they just kind of were a miss. And if I was to do it again, I'd probably just skip those shows and just go to maybe the game shows. Also, I'm used to more interactive game shows like Disney. The people are very involved. You're moving and you're very involved in the game shows. And this was more like they were having a game and even like the trivia, I felt like I was used to very competitive trivia. And it was almost like it was trivia just like for fun. And it didn't feel like they were maybe keeping score or really, it kind of was like very light. You go on Disney and those people are serious trivia people. And they're not playing around. They're in there to win and they're in there to play trivia. So this just seemed kind of like more of a lighthearted, kind of distracting thing. So, and I felt like the game hosts were not up to the level of game hosts that I've had in the past. So it was pleasant. It was nice. I loved having the premier package. It was so easy with getting drinks. But I did find too is all the bars had the same, almost every bar had the same menu. I think there was like that. Now I have to look at my notes. There was one bar that had some different drinks. That seemed like some specially curated drinks. But for the most part, it was the same. Of course, you could always like ask for different drinks. And I'm sure that they would be able to do that. And the most fun drink was the one that we requested at the very end. We always ended up in that little piazza, like before we were going on an excursion or after we get off the excursion. And so we kind of got to know those bartenders a little bit more. And they made us, you'll see in the video, they made us red, white, and blue daiquiri. So I said, well, instead of like her getting a strawberry daiquiri and me getting like they put the red, white, and blue together. And everyone was like, what's that drink? I want that. So that they did that. That was fun. And so the drinks, they did have like some fun drinks. And I did try a lot of different stuff. So, and that's what I like to do. I typically I'm not like have a set drink that I like. I kind of just want to try new different drinks. So that was fun. The first night we were on board, we did go to the main dining. I would say our server was very good. But the food was just okay. It was just, nothing I would go back for. And then basically we had all specialty dining. And I would say that the Catch was our favorite. But we went to the Catch and the steak place twice. Now, the Italian place, for my friends like theirs, but for me, it was a huge miss. And we had it scheduled again and we canceled it and ended up going to the Irish pub, and that was fine with that. That was good. That was fine. We did do the Gigi's Pizza for lunch on Embarkation, and then we did it another time also. And I would say that it was good but inconsistent. It got very busy in there, and I felt like, especially the second time around, I didn't feel like our pizzas were done. So they were a little bit goopy, which isn't good. I think they've kind of changed it with those giant sundaes. I did get one of those once. I will say those lines were like really big, but you're eating so much on the ship. It's like I could see why they kind of took it off. You just aren't going to, you're just eating so much other stuff. We really didn't go to the buffet. There was a couple times I went and I kind of walked around and they had like good variety. I think one time maybe I grabbed a little something just to try it. And one time I went up there and I got some like they had some little nuts and stuff on the side, and I got that just for like a snack. But again, it wasn't that good. I found that International Cafe was one of my favorite places. I like getting the specialty coffee and the specialty chai tea lattes. And that was my go-to breakfast. It was easy and I get up early. So that was, and it was there in the piazza. So it's pretty to sit in there. That piazza is like a nice little center for entertainment. It seemed like they always had like a band or a game or a singer or something going on in there. And then that Princess Live, my friends really like that. They like all the game shows that. So after dinners, they'd kind of end up going in there, and that was kind of like their spot. I did like wandering around the ship a little bit. I liked in one port sitting out on the deck, and that's where you'll see in one of my videos. We met up with another princess ship, and we got to hear the horns from both ships. So doing the princess horns, so that was neat. I would say when I looked later, I was surprised that really the Enchanted Princess isn't that old, but it was very pretty, but in a kind of old-fashioned, traditional, glitzy cruise ship way. If I would have guessed, I would have thought that it was like an older ship that had been refurbished, but really it wasn't that old. But it kind of just had that older feel, style. Like I said, pretty, but it felt outdated. The elevators were, it was kind of slow in the way they were, but like I said, the clientele on that, the other guests, there were a lot of people, very few people I saw taking steps. The steps. So of course that makes the elevators take a little bit longer. And also it was a weird, the way the banking was set up. It was hard to tell when there was a ding, because there was like the main ones were all connected, but behind you there was like two separate ones that were on a separate button. So sometimes you'd hear a ding and you're like, by the time you got there, it was gone. So you really had to pay attention, because if you're like, not thinking about it, it's going to come and go. So watch that with the elevators. Everyone was nice. I felt like there was nothing special about the service. I would say at that time I had been on a Holland America, and then we had just been on the Norwegian, and of course lots of Disney. And I would say the specialty dining was more similar to Disney main dining. And so the main dining food, I would say, was kind of like buffet quality food. And the specialty dining was kind of like main dining quality food, if I could say that. It was like there were some things that were good. And I would say service was, it was just not very personable. The specialty dining on Disney, there's more flair, there's more taking time. The rooms are smaller and quieter. It just is another kind of level of service. And I felt like that level of service, if you haven't done anything else, there was nothing wrong with it. It was fine, but it was just like, it wasn't special, I guess that's what I'm saying. It was just like going to any other kind of, like nice restaurant anywhere. And if I'm paying extra, I kind of want something a little bit extra. I want something a little bit more flair and special. So
that's about. I did try. One morning I did go to like Maine. I kind of went around to the different places to look at the breakfast, and I did not like the breakfast in the main dining. The service was very, very slow, not very good, not very attentive, and the food was mediocre at best. So I just like that international cafe. Now, the ports, like I said, this was a port intensive cruise. So the ports were like many of the ports, some of them we've been to by land. And so if you've traveled a lot, maybe you've been to some of those. Some of them were like going back to like, Boston and Maine. And so, but still there were some interesting things to do. I think that I would make different choices on excursions, or maybe doing excursions through a private company next time, or maybe renting a car to get to more things faster next time. And but we were kind of more relaxed, and we weren't, our objective wasn't to do a lot. We saw lighthouses, and we got lots of lobster rolls, and we got to see the actual port area, did some shopping, but nothing like major. The one where Halifax, when we could have went to that, I think I want to say Sandy Cove. The timing was weird because our ship didn't get in till noon, and the first trip out there was sold out, and the second one, it would have been dark. So that just wouldn't have worked. But we ended up having, nice timing excursions. I will say, looking at different, there's probably some ports that you don't have a choice, that you have to tender, but I really don't like tendering. Tendering was like long lines to get off, and the little tender boats were pretty full. But coming back, there was always very, very long lines. Because no matter what you do, it just seemed like no matter if we felt like we were coming back early or if we were coming back later, it was just a long line. And it just so happened that, a couple of the days it was it was warm for the season. So, yeah. So tendering, that has nothing to do with Princess, but it's just, I would like, I would probably maybe look at like some ships do have like priorities, like you can get a priority thing for getting on and off the tenders. That would be good, depending, so if there's something like that, if you're tendering, I would get that. And also I would pick itineraries that had the least amount of tendering, because that's not always pleasant. But overall, I think I've seen some videos on the newer style Princess ships, which I think that maybe I would try. But for right now, I don't think I would select Princess as my go-to cruise line. Like I said, so far we've done mostly Disney, but we've also done Holland America, which in Alaska was amazing. And I just highly recommend that. I felt at that time that on our cruise to Alaska, the service and the food was equal to Disney. Of course, the shows were not equal. Their shows were very basic. But then they had that fun, like, dueling piano bar, and then they had like a rock bar and a jazz, section. But truthfully, when you're going to Alaska, you're going for the port. So you're really not out for the wild nightlife and shows and stuff. And Holland America has the naturalist, had all the information, took you to Glacier Bay, had the best port, you know, assignments where they stopped, and they're good. So I loved Holland America. So if I was doing kind of like that, going on for the itineraries and unique itineraries, I'd probably tend, matter of fact, we're going on another Holland America next year, to ABC Islands. And so I'll be interested to try that, try Holland America again. And then in the meantime, we've also went on, we went on the Norwegian, which, it was just different. It was interesting because it was so different. And, I like that. I like the Sid Normans on the Norwegian, and I like the, that vibe area that was adult only, and all the variety of the food. And then we also did a Royal Caribbean cruise, and I liked, again, the service and the food weren't better than Disney, but it was different. I liked the aqua show and the other shows, and I liked the variety of the food and all the different stuff. But so that was something just like new. So I found that was fun. And so, and we've since then, so we've gone on Holland America, Disney, Princess, Norwegian, Royal Caribbean, and I did say Disney, right? And coming up, we're going on Celebrity. And then we're going to go on another Royal Caribbean, a very special one coming up. So make sure you watch, because we have a very special Royal Caribbean trip coming up. And then at the end of the year, we're going to try MSC in the yacht club. So we're trying different ships, kind of looking at that. And I would say of the cruise lines and the ships, like I said, I'm sure that there's variety of, amongst the different types of ships. But I would say in my lineup, it's right now, it's Disney, Royal Caribbean. Oh no, Disney, Holland America, Royal Caribbean, Norwegian, and Princess. So, and I have a feeling that Celebrity is probably going to go above that, above Princess also. So it's still a good cruise line. They have lots of ships, lots of itineraries, lots of fun places. That's why I said my friends went to Hawaii, and now they're going to Greenland and Iceland. So that's one good thing about the Princess ships. They're smaller ships, and they go to lots of different places. So if you're going for the itinerary, it's definitely a cruise line to look at. There wasn't anything bad about it. It just wasn't special. So I'm glad that we tried it. And like I said, I would be up to, at some point, trying maybe one of the newer Princess ships just to get a different feel for Princess. I will say the Medallion and their app, it's the best. That Medallion. I don't know why they don't all do that, because it was a very, very, very good experience for that. And our embarkation was very easy and fast. The signing up for everything. Of course, I've watched some different videos with that Premier package. Now, our experience was different because my friends are both like almost the highest or second highest level on Princess. So we were able to, as soon as we booked, we were able to book all our dining. Now, I've seen other people that if their lower tiers or their first princess, I've heard a lot of complaints with that premier package that people had a very hard time getting any dining times, and then if they did, they were like weird times or very late times, and they just couldn't get to all the different ones. So that would be a concern if like Chip and I went on it, that, I'd only been on it once, that we might have a harder time getting the specialty dining that we would want. And I definitely would get that premier package again. I liked having the drink package. I liked having the other perks that came along with it. And I liked the specialty dining. So I think that would have to be something that we'd have to think about too, because I have heard people say that that's an issue. So now I'm seeing that this is going very long. But let me know down below. Have you cruised on Princess? And what do you think? Have you been on the Enchanted Princess? Have you done this itinerary with New England, Canada? I will say I really enjoyed the New England part. The two Canada, Halifax and St. John, I just think what we chose was not that exciting. So those were my least favorite. Boston, there's a ton to do, and some of the other places. But let me know what you did on your New England, Canada trip, and if you went on the Enchanted Princess or another princess ship. And maybe tell me your favorite princess and tell me, hey, you need to go on this one. Because I'd love to hear about it. So till then, I'm Sue with Just Two Tourists, solo, but lots of coming up that's not solo.